Hello, Internet. I'm Corione, your witch in residence here on YouTube. And I love Anne Rice novels. When I was a teenager and angsty and whatnot, I used to read them a lot. And one of my favorites is actually Queen of the Damned. So when they made a movie starring my favorite actor who can play an immortal really well, Stuart Townsend, and a cast that looked pretty good in my opinion, I really dug it up. And I've got some interesting thoughts about it. But before we begin, I'm just going to take a glass out of my, or a glass of drink here. Oh, why, yes, this is a custom mug made for me. And if you're interested in getting that too, She's a Glass Act makes hundreds of designs of unique special glassware, everything from the geeky to the nerdy to the Coron Witch in Residence merchy. So please consider stopping by. Just say hello to them. Let them know that Corion Witch in Residence sent you, and check out their information. It'll be in the details below. Thank you very much. With that obligatory ritual out of the way, let's get down to the Queen of the Damned. So, when I watched it, and I was enjoyed it at the time it came out, and when I watched it in preparation for this video, my wife was watching with me, and she goes, "So, what do you think the main lesson for this movie is?" Because she was curious, I was curious too, and I thought about it for a few seconds, and it really boiled down to beware strange goddesses offering you candy, right? Because at the end of the day, that's really what Lestat did that kind of messed everything up, isn't it? And I think there's precedence for this in several different mythologies. From Jason meeting the sorceress in Jason and the Argonauts to various stories about Artemis and Orion, although one can argue that Orion was a bit of a dick too. Um, there are a lot of pieces to this. And I think it's important to remember what is offered isn't inherently always a gift. And an important line that I've tried to reiterate again and again and again: is the juice worth the squeeze? Okay. Now, in this case, for vampires, the queen's blood was something special, something incredibly powerful. And it made Lestat feel really, really good, but he also seemed to become addicted to it, didn't he? And gee, I wonder what the equivalent would be in the 80s, 90s era that Anne Rice could be referencing that was very popular in clubs at the time. And we very rarely talk about things like addiction, okay? And I'm going to be careful because I do not want the YouTube gods coming down on me like an angry, vengeful deity. But when we talk about these things, we have to be respectful to the understanding that for those who do not have an addictive personality or have never experienced a chemical dependency, one must remember that these sort of things feel very much beyond human control at the time they manifest. Okay? Yes, it is a choice to initially start. It may not be a choice to continue. And that's the important part. That one stupid mistake can lead to a lot of misery. So, I kind of want to talk about, drugs and, what that looks like from a witch perspective. Now, we have what we call the 8 paths to power, okay? One of them is, I want to say, creative use of pharmaceuticals. Okay. And it's the only one that comes with a very, very serious caveat that while this is a very, very fast road to get to where you want to go, it's probably the most dangerous road. Not to other people, but to yourself. And that's important to remember, that the allure is obvious, right? Um, it may be that all your friends are doing it, or I hate using this term, the cool kids are doing it, or what have you, or you're seeing people that are genuinely enjoying their experiences with this illicit substance. But it's also destroying them, right? I mean, take a look at what was going on with Lestat, right? He got so into his own persona that he ended his musical career. He ended the Queen, like he got in with this Queen of the Damned, right? Things just taste better in this mug. Anyway, he got into that sort of scenario, and all the while his music was suffering, right? His attention was wavering. He wasn't focusing on what was really going on, which was she was indiscriminately annihilating swaths of people to satiate her own bloodlust, and didn't care who she took out along the way, which sounds like another spirit that we're talking about here. The point is, it's very easy to be taken in by a pretty face who's offering you something to just try it, okay? Or is offering you an opportunity to experience something you haven't before. And since you're taking a walk on the wild side anyway, might as well just go for it. Well, that's risky, okay? It's incredibly dangerous. In a lot of places, it's illegal, which I get that a lot of people, kind of roll their eyes at that part of it. But there is reasons why certain things are legal and illegal. And I highly recommend that if you're going to take the personal responsibility and decide that the rules are what you set, I highly advise, before you do that, to look at why the rule exists. Okay? In Canada, the general consensus was that laws concerning a certain herb were out of date, that they didn't directly relate to the people's will, and that more study and science needed to go into what was going on here. And that was allowed to happen. And it turned out that there were good reasons for allowing it to occur. And thus it was legalized. But that may not be true everywhere, right? The way I like to describe it is it's the daddy's gun problem. What do I mean by that? A lot of people don't have respect for something that is common in every place. Okay? They don't fear it, or if they do, they don't fear it the right way. Now, the way to combat fear is knowledge, but most people would rather lock up the problem and not deal with it, right? Daddy's gun is the textbook example, where it's kept in a drawer. Everyone knows it's there, so nobody bothers about it. And then, because people are just being silly, something stupid happens. And the kid who was playing with Daddy's gun, because it was so used to it being there that it became a toy, injures someone. That's the normal story of this. Well, this is an important lesson, I think, for any gifts that are being offered by a pretty face. do you really want to look at that first? Yes, you do. Okay. You're not looking a gift horse in the mouth. You're looking a Trojan horse in the mouth. Okay. And that's okay to do, because it's super important that we keep an eye on what we're putting into ourselves and how we treat ourselves. Because at the end of the day, you may not feel like much to you, but I guarantee you, you are a lot to the people around you. Okay? You do matter to others. And if you have the kind of personality that predisposes themselves to being party to something like this, or even just remain on it long enough for the chemical dependency to start occurring, then that chemical is in charge. You're not. And that's not okay. I highly recommend a multitude of the programs out there. If you feel like there is a chemical in your life that is taking over, okay, there are various groups out there that I highly recommend. If you feel that there is a person in your life leading you down the wrong path, and while obviously being a priest myself, I would say talk to your priest or me. If you would prefer a more secular solution, there are all kinds of therapy organizations out there that will help you get yourself sorted and can recommend important counseling sessions to get you back into control of your own life. Okay. I have had very, very many close friends that have struggled with addiction to various things. And they say that you never stop feeling that way. Okay. They continuously want to drink. And when I say not like have a drink, I'm talking not a drink. I'm talking they want to have a fleet of drinks. Okay. Because it makes them feel good. But they also know that they have to have the willpower to say, I'm not going to do it today. Tomorrow is a different day. And I'm going to start this fight all over again tomorrow. But today, I'm going to make the conscious choice not to. And I would recommend that for everybody out there who is taking a walk on the wild side. And believe me, I did many, many years of being in goth clubs. I loved the dancing. Okay. And I loved the music. I just didn't like the swarms of drugs. And I stayed away from it, but some of my friends didn't, and they had very, very wildly different lives because of it. Right. And for those of you who are out there, look, you don't have to just accept. Okay. You can say, it's not really my scene. Or, hey, I'm just here to dance and scam on beautiful goth girls or beautiful whatever girls, right? All women are beautiful. So this is the point though. Okay. You can set the boundaries for yourself. You do not have to accept. If you feel like there is pressure to accept and you're not down for it, don't go for it. Okay. Make that conscious choice of not today. Okay. There's an old saying of beware of Greeks bearing gifts. Well, I would argue beware of beautiful goddesses or gods bearing gifts too. Okay? Because sometimes those gifts come with strings. And sometimes those gifts are really a curse. And I would like all of you to be safe and be happy. And you know what? I think that's all I need to say is the Queen of the Damned is, I think, a perfect metaphor for how terrible addiction can be And if we look at it from Marius's perspective on Lestat, you can see his friend and love slowly slipping into addiction, and it hurts him. And he sees it and he tries to do something about it. And we see Lestat falling for a pretty face in a club. So keep that in mind, guys. Be safe out there. Merry meet. Merry part. Merry meet again.